Okay, this video has two purposes. The first part is to basically tell you how awesome this here laser cutter is. A few years ago, an affordable laser cutter was like $10,000. But in recent years, they've been coming way down in price from a few companies, and it's hard to find any reviews on those. And I spent $2,500 on this. And when I did, I felt like I was kind of taking a big risk because I couldn't find any reviews because it was a new company and, you know, etc., etc. So I'm doing that here, and I mean, just to sum up, it's awesome. And it's by this company here, Full Spectrum Laser, and it's a 40-watt carbon dioxide laser cutter, and I like it a lot. Now the second part is I emailed the company telling them how much I loved their laser blaster, and they happened to see that I make these videos online, and were like, hey, you can give out a $50 discount to anyone who, you know, you refer. And I was like, well, that's awesome. What about my 50 bucks? I already bought mine. And they're like, oh, you'll get a rebate too every time someone buys one. I was like, whoa, sweet. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that up front. I am getting something out of that as well. But I'm not going to put the code word in the video. I'm going to put it in the comments. And the reason for that is that if my opinion of this company changes, or if there's lots of complaints, or my laser blaster explodes in 2 weeks, then I can remove it and be like, actually, don't buy one of these. But so far, everything is totally awesome. So here's the machine, and here's my hand for a rough reference of how big it is. It weighs like 80 pounds, so like a decently strong person can pick it up and move it around. And inside here, we've got the cutting area, and it seems like you can cut about 10 inches by 14 inches without much trouble. Otherwise, you know, the laser starts hitting the edges and stuff. Okay, the first thing I cut out was pieces for a robot. And I'll show you that just so you get an idea of, you know, something you could make with it on the first try, having no clue about how to operate the thing. And, you know, also having some designs for a robot that you want to build. So I built this before, hold on. So I built this using acrylic, and that was before I got the laser cutter all tweaked and working perfectly. So like the gears are a little bit not quite perfectly round, and the holes aren't perfectly centered, but I mean, even then, it was accurate enough to make something like this work. So I was pretty psyched about that. And since then, you know, in the last week, I've figured out how to kind of tweak it a little bit and get it working a lot better. But if you look in here, it's got little tiny gears and stuff, and I mean, it cuts out really nicely. Here's a few other samples of things. This is the sample that they have on their website, which looks a lot bigger on their website. I mean, it's tiny. It's kind of amazing how much detail there is in this little tiny thing. But I got the laser cutter all tweaked and working really well, and it cut out these gears, and they're really good. And one of the things you have to think about when cutting with it is the laser line is pretty thin, but I mean, it does have a thickness. So if you're cutting out things like gears, it's good to make all your teeth a little bit fatter. But once you get that worked out, I mean, they mesh together perfectly, and I mean, it's just really good. Now about their customer service. They say on their website that they have great customer service and they stand behind the products and all that. Of course, you don't know that until you have an experience. And sort of luckily, I didn't feel lucky at the time, but luckily I did have a problem with my laser blaster here. This mirror had a piece of something stuck on the bottom of it, and it, you know, burned. The laser comes through here. Anyway, the mirror ended up cracking. So I emailed the guy. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Which mirror is it? You know, if you just take the pieces, send us a picture, and we'll send you a replacement. And I was like, wow, really? All right, let's try it. So I took a picture of it, sent him, told him where it was, so he knows it's the right mirror. He confirmed with me which mirror it was, and he's like, okay, we sent one out. And I was like, wow, really? No way. And then sure enough, like 3 days later, this mirror shows up in the mail, and it was, you know, put it in, and everything worked perfectly. So other than replacing that one mirror, the only thing I've had to do is align the mirrors. And I've heard, oh, that's kind of a pain. It's actually really not that big a deal. All that is in the manual. The manual is actually pretty good. And it's in PDF on their website. And it goes through the whole setup of everything, step by step, which I followed exactly because whenever I have a new piece of equipment that I haven't used before, I always go with following the instructions exactly, just in case there's you know, anything I'm not aware of and don't know. But their instructions were good, and they were in English. This is another thing that was really cool about this company. They're based in the United States, which is an English-speaking country, obviously. And I happen to speak English, and I know that a lot of people who want to buy these machines speak English. So it's really cool to be able to call someone and be like, hey, yeah, man, how's it going? I'm having some kind of problem, and have the person respond like, oh, really? Well, what's the problem? Let's hear it. Instead of, you know, some kind of broken English that you can't understand. So their customer service is really great, at least so far, and if that ever changes, I'll mention that in the comments down there. Their website is really good too. This is the page where you order the laser blaster, or laser cutter as everyone else seems to call it. It's, you know, this thing here. And the one I can get you the $50 discount on is somewhere. Oh, see the super deluxe model, which includes all the stuff. And after, I mean, it's like $23.50 plus 125 shipping, so it ends up being $2,500. But you can get 50 bucks off. So maybe 50 bucks isn't the hugest deal in the world, but if you're thinking about getting one anyway, hey, that's an extra 50 bucks. One of the really cool things about their website is they have this forum over here. So you can go in there and post questions or answer other people's questions, and the full spectrum people respond to posts in there, but also just other people who've bought the laser blasters. So you can actually go in there and just look around. Oh, here's some CO2 laser products, and you can see what people are saying about them. I actually went on their website before I bought mine, and of course I was thinking, well, I don't know if they're just making this stuff up. This is their own website. They control it. Maybe they're just like, you know, saying, hey, Bob from accounting, can you go post something about how awesome our laser blaster is? But anyway, I've posted some things on there, and I've spoken with some other people, and the forum is actually people who have the laser cutters. And for instance, I posted a question on here about if there's any difference in cutting time between clear acrylic versus opaque acrylic. And some guy, like, the next day was like, oh yeah, I've been cutting these things out of clear acrylic, black acrylic, orange, yellow, green. Takes the same amount of time for all of them. So totally cool. There's a place you can get your silly questions answered pretty easily. Please excuse the noisy baby in the background. Another cool thing about laser cutters is you can, like, make non-toxic toys that you know don't have paint or chemicals on them. Here, play with the gear and just be quiet for like a couple minutes, okay? Yeah, right. Here's some things I've cut out. I haven't done any raster drawing, but I have engraved a little bit. That's less than 1 inch across, and it handled that no problem. This gear way over here is less than ½ inch across, maybe like a centimeter at the most. That was no problem. And you can make things fit together nicely. See? Sorry, I'd use my other hand, but I'm connected to a baby right now. And actually, I'm really jealous that she is going to grow up with one of these in her house. I wish I had one of these when I was a kid. So anyway, this is just a really cool machine, and I like it a lot. And I would totally recommend it to anyone else who is thinking about getting a laser cutter, or a laser blaster as I like to call it. And if for any reason that changes, I will put that in the comments below. But so far, everything's super. Oh, and I almost forget to see if they're still doing this. Yes! You get a free air compressor if you buy now, and I don't know how long that'll last. I got the free air compressor when I bought mine, and that was like a month ago. But it says that offer will expire without notice. So that's kind of good to get. So if you wanted to buy one soon, you will probably get a free air compressor. And that's useful because it blows air over the lens so that it doesn't get gummed up with smoke and residue and stuff like that. And you don't want your lens gummed up because it'll block part of the laser blast and you'll have to use more power to cut through things and blah blah blah. Now I've been using Autocad, which is really easy, but I've heard that you can use all kinds of programs. I just haven't tried other ones. And you just have to go over here and basically print to a file. And when you do that, it automatically gets picked up by their, the laser cutting software that comes with it. As long as you get the deluxe version, you get the software and the USB connector and everything, which is nice because not everyone has a parallel port connection in their computer anymore. I do, but I went with the USB one anyway. And here you can raster engrave, so I could draw a picture of this on the thing, but these are obviously pieces of something that I want to cut out, so I click on vector cut up here and it'll vector cut all these things. Oh, and I didn't really center my picture very well. I should have taken that whole thing out, but this is just a test right now. And then the cut speed, you can set anything from 0 to 100% and the power from 0 to 100%. And if you have different layers in your picture, you can set different lines. Like every line will show up down here and you can set them all to different powers and speeds. So for instance, when I cut these things out, I set the line that goes around the outside to cut at high power and a slow speed, and then I told it to just graze over the middle part real quickly. So it'll just etch that into the surface a little bit and then cut right through the rest. Now occasionally when you go up here and click go, it doesn't do anything, and all you have to do then is close the software and reopen it and then do it again. It seems to be that when you plug the laser cutter in, then you open the software, everything works smoothly. But if you turn the laser cutter off or disconnect it and plug it back in, sometimes you have to close the software and reopen it. Not a huge deal. Oh, and please, in the comments below, feel free to express your good or bad experiences so everyone else can know, and any other information you have regarding these things. Oh, and now I'm just going to put in some video of me using the blaster. So, Jaimie, remember to do that. Ooh, that's so fancy. Oh, 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 ha, ha, oh, yeah. Oh. Oh.
So I acted like I was asleep. Quiet, sobbed the whole way home.
Let's see here.